All right, Greg, thanks for coming today.
Okay.
Appreciate this testimonial you're about to give us on your nutrition response testing case. So give us a little update as to why you initiated the nutrition program you were on.
So basically, about 5 years ago, I reached over 350 pounds, and I managed to lose some of it, but it all kind of kept coming back.
All right.
And then about 2.5 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. And I was managing it for about 3 months, and then it just kind of started getting out of control, and the doctor started adding medication.
Mm-hmm.
And around the same time, my blood pressure was also going up.
Mm-hmm.
So I was on blood pressure medication and diabetes medication. And then over the course of another year, the diabetes medication just doubled.
Mm-hmm.
Suddenly I was doubling my doses, and then I was adding a new medication, and so I was taking a lot of medication.
All right.
And of course, I wasn't really feeling very good.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I met with you, and we talked about it.
I remember that talk.
Mm-hmm. In fact, it was for something else, and then we talked about it, and it's like, well, maybe this is the time now, not to necessarily lose weight. I wanted to lose weight for my daughter, obviously.
Right.
My young daughter who's trying to walk in the room.
That's cute.
But, just to also, I wanted to be good at Taekwondo. I wanted these lessons to be easier because I didn't want to quit. I wanted to persevere, but it wasn't getting easier.
Mm-hmm.
I just couldn't, my endurance was terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I was constantly out of breath. I was constantly, black spots in my vision.
Yep.
So we started the program, and the good news is that you were, I would say, low key, low pressure. I didn't feel pressured into like day one, this is everything you have to change in your life. It wasn't about that. It was about, first, let's see what you're eating, what you're doing. It took a little bit of time. I think it took about 4 weeks before we started making any real adjustments. But when we did, it wasn't such a drastic change.
Right,
it wasn't this huge. I've done diets in the past where you feel like garbage for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, where you just don't want to move. And the first thing you want to do is, well, now I want to eat.
Yeah.
Well, that wasn't like that. I wasn't feeling cravings. I wasn't demanding my my go-to foods per se.
Yeah, our ultimate goal for you was the blood sugar.
Mm-hmm. And so then I made it a point at that point to check my blood sugars and to make sure that whenever we're doing our check-ins, I at least had some data for us.
Mm-hmm.
And the blood sugars are still pretty bad at that point. Medicated, they were still on the high end.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they were high normal, but they were high. But that was under multiple medications. And I started the program, and the first 3 months, I think I lost probably about 10 pounds a month. And I noticed noticeable differences, and the Taekwondo was getting better. Mm-hmm. And then the Taekwondo started getting a little worse because I found out that I was actually having low blood sugar issues. Mm-hmm. So I started backing off on medications. In fact, I talked to my doctor, and she said, yeah, let's dump this one medication we added 6 months ago, let's pull it. Mm-hmm. And things started improving. And at that point, we just kept going, and within 6 months, so 6 months later, I had been pulling medications back as I felt I needed to, but I still was on, I think it was by 4th or 5th month, I had pulled the blood pressure medication.
Yeah.
I was off everything on the blood pressure med, and I was down to 25% dosage on the diabetes medication.
Yes, I remember that.
And then I got my lab work in 6 months after we started. And the lab work basically showed that my A1C numbers weren't even normal. They were below normal. They were actually below. I think they get redlined at 4.3, and I think I was at 4.2, 4.1 or something really low. At that point, I'm thinking, well, my A1C is really down, so I probably shouldn't be taking any more medication because I'm just depressing myself even further, and I want to avoid any kind of bottoming out effects.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to my doctor, she said, yeah, you're fine, just get off your meds. And at that point, Taekwondo workouts were easier.
Yeah.
I feel great.
Mm-hmm.
When everybody gets sick around me, I might get sick, but it lasts a day or two.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get sick for weeks like everybody else, especially this flu season. Everybody else got wiped out for weeks, and
Exactly.
I was over in 2 or 3 days.
Yeah, you've done a whole 180 on your whole profile.
Yeah, I feel a lot better.
Which is awesome.
So my med numbers, I mean, I got my labs from just a couple months ago.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been on the program for a year, and I got my new labs in, and they were amazing. My cholesterol, which I've always had low cholesterol, but my LDL was lower than my HDL, which is not supposed to be. Your HDL is supposed to be lower than your LDL. Well, finally,
Correct. Yep.
finally it fixed itself. Finally, my LDL was a few points higher than my HDL. Triglycerides were down. Everything was down in the perfect range. Stuff that wasn't in the perfect range was down. A1C is like 4.1. It's like still in the red, but on the bottom.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy about.
It just shows that over time, your body healed itself
Yeah.
with the proper nutrition given, and that's a testimony in itself.
Yeah.
You're a walking testimony. And that, would you recommend this to someone?
I actually do recommend it to people. Whenever I find
That's right. I've
someone,
had people hear from you.
I send them to your workshops. I tell them to go to the workshop, listen to them, sign up. And if they're not willing to do that, I at least share some of my knowledge in the hopes that eventually I can get them to come in here, because
Perfect.
it's made such a big change in my life.
Yeah.
And I feel like a different person. I used to have, I wouldn't call it, what's that, narcolepsy, where you kind of fall asleep?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really have narcolepsy, but I used to have such low energy that I would just kind of fall asleep on the computer at work or after a workout, because I just got so hard to manage these things. And I run at a higher level these days.
Nice.
And sometimes it's actually hard to go to sleep because I just have too much energy.
All right. I appreciate that. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you expressing these ideas and stuff to people out there on the planet, so they can get an idea that there's other ways to get well.
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Greg.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.